All right, everyone. My name is Alyssa,
And I'm Landry,
and we
and
will be discussing.
it's
Oh,
fine. Move on. We are going to go over the effects COVID on education.
take
So
it
my
away.
first question for my first question for Alyssa is, how has COVID affected your education?
I feel that I have had both benefits to this and some downfalls to this. Last year we were virtual, and I feel like I got the best out of my education. Like my grades were phenomenal. Everything across the board was just going well. And I think that's just the type of learner that I am. So, um, being back in the classroom, it was an adjustment, which is funny to say that because we've been in the classroom for years now. Um, but I'm an introvert, so being in the classroom and going back to the group projects and um, trying to be more engaging with my classmates has been a struggle of mine. So, COVID has shown me grace, and it's also given me the push I needed to come out of my shell and to build relationships with my teachers, with my peers, and it's also given me good grades. So,
I would like to agree with that because I felt like when we were all online, I had time for everything, or I had extra time in a sense. I feel like now, and I feel like a lot of us have said this in class, we're running out of time. I feel swamped. I don't know what it was, like, coming back in person, I'm like, "Where did all my time go?" Because I used to be able to hang out with friends, do, like like, little things, like, I go grocery shopping, now I'm like, "I can't go grocery shopping, I have to do this, this, and this for class." So, yeah, I would say COVID affected me. I just don't have time anymore. I think
agree.
I've run out.
Feels
Okay,
like our
my
days are
second question.
just moving by so fast.
Mhm,
All right,
I agree.
question two.
My second question for you is COVID still affecting your education?
Um, I believe that it's going to affect education as a whole as the years progress. Where we are right now, completely agree that COVID is affecting our education and our well being as humans. Teachers are trying to find balance between their classroom, what they have to do as educators, and what they need to do in order to make sure their learners are getting the help they need to be successful. And not only this, we have to teach our learners how to be students and how to be individuals within society. And how can you do that when there's just not enough time in your given day? And then we have to worry about the effects of education on our learners. So, for instance, STAR, a lot of schools were saying that STAR was optional last year. And parents and students took advantage of that. Well, I'm not going to miss my health to come take a test for a few hours in any given day. But now that we're back in school, it turns out that their test scores did determine things and did affect their education. So now teachers are having to scramble to come up with the required amount of hours that the district is stating for learners to make up for the information that they missed last year.
Yeah, totally agree. I, um I feel like personally COVID affected me in my education. I feel like, yes, I love being back in class. I love our classmates and they are make it easier to go to school. But again, there's just like so little things like the mask, I personally hate it. I'll wear it if I need to. But I feel like I'm getting a disconnect. I'm not really getting to know all my friends, my teachers, my community if all you see is like my eyes. I
Yeah.
feel like there's that disconnect. And it's even in school, so little kids. Uh most of them you just see the top of their eyes. and maybe they're face at lunch, not even recess. There's just that personal disconnect, and that affects our education. Like, if I don't get to know my teachers, I feel like I got to know them all really well this year. But like, if I had to go last year and I had to wear a mask, I would don't feel like I would have tried. I feel like personally I would do what I want and not be so like I just look good and everything. They would have got because I didn't my couldn't tell my teachers cared about me or not. Um, yeah, still mm, again swamped. Okay. And my last question is COVID affecting your students?
Yes, and I know it's going to be sad to say, but in a negative way. The one example that I've been using when I speak to people about this is my current placement. One of the students, he lost his dad to COVID 2 weeks prior to this year starting. He's an only child, he's in kindergarten, and his mom is a teacher at the school. So we have to take into account his emotional well being, his mental, his academic, because he was in the process of getting tested for learning disabilities. So this placement has really given me the opportunity to take what I've learned from my SPED experience and apply it to Gen Ed. And with that being said, I've chosen to get permission from my lead teacher, of course, on doing pull out with him just to check on him throughout the day about his emotional well being. If there's a problem he's having with a peer, um, can we talk it out? Is it a big problem where you need my help? Is it a small problem where you guys can work it out together? We also do sensory walks to get him out of the classroom and to get some of his energy out because I have noticed he gets wired up throughout the day if he's just sitting in the classroom all day, which is understandable for any kid in kindergarten. Um, but it really has made a difference in his ability to speak up and speak on different things that are affecting him as an individual. So, COVID has had an impact on everyone, especially these young learners.
I agree. I love how you took that initiative to be that person for that student. It sounds like you're doing a great job, and I know he loves it. He loves you. I would agree. I'm in second and third, and I can tell I'm just playing catch up for 2 years because they're like the first and kindergartners that had to go COVID. A lot of them stayed online all year. So there's like a huge gap of what they should be at and what they can perform. And it's not their fault that like they had to stay home. Their parents wanted them to stay home. So they didn't get that one-on-one time with the teacher if they didn't understand something. And you could tell from from students like, okay, I can tell that you're okay because your parents worked with you and try to help you understand to their best ability. And then you can just see where like, oh, your parents did your work for you, which just doesn't help a kid, but that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, I agree. COVID affected kids like negatively in that sense that they just didn't get. Okay.
All right, now for you, Landry. What changes have you seen in the development of learners now that they are back in the classroom?
Um, I think they're more excited. I think there are going to be some kids that like were online for a year and a half. So I think they're kind of excited to get back in the classroom. Yes, it's it's a learning curve because it's not like their own time and they're like they have to get ready for school. I think kids are excited and they like the one-on-one time with the teacher. I kids come out who's like, "Will you help me? Will you help me?" I'm like, "Yes, I'll help you." Uh, again, I want to say it's slow because I feel like since a lot of those kids were online and last year hectic, I could not imagine being a teacher last year at all. I feel like we have to slowly kind of figure out what type of learning style they like. So I feel like teachers trying everything and trying to like, okay, you like videos or you like actually hands on and we're doing a dance to remember something. But
Really agree with that.
yeah,
I feel like a lot of teachers are going back to the basics, like almost like we have to teach you guys as if you're in first grade, not second grade, just so it's able to click more. And that is so sad
uh-huh.
to say that they have to do that because we should be moving, we should be progressing, not having to start over. But that's just the reality of it.
True. Yes. And you gotta teach classroom management. Like
Yes.
you gotta teach kids how to like function in a classroom. Like this is how you act in the classroom. It is not crazy town. You need to, these are my like the guidelines and this is how the day runs. Please follow them. Don't go crazy.
Yeah.
So I feel like kid and then you got kids are super sensitive, like they didn't get that maturity level of growing up in classrooms. So I have kids crying and I'm over something so small and I'm like, buddy, it's okay. Let's move on. We
Yeah.
gotta go to science now. I feel like that is affecting a lot of my kids and their learning because they don't know to handle their emotions. So everything's like huge, huge emotions, huge outbursts of what they're feeling. Some of it's cute, some of it's like, take it down a notch.
Mhm.
You're here. I need to get back here. It's only 8 a.m.
I also feel
Yeah.
like respect. This year, the amount of respect and disrespect that I've seen in classrooms is astounding. I'm like, did you not have to listen to anything or follow any type of rules at home? Because the way I have seen these fourth graders talk to their teachers, like they would step to a teacher as if they're the same age, as if like they have no authority at all, and then expect you not to give consequences. So
Oh,
it just blows my mind. I'm like, what were you doing?
I'm like, you talk to your mother like that, I tell you, if you're in my household,
And
it'd
then
be
when you
different. You be
say
singing a
something,
different tune.
yeah, and then when you say something to the parents, they're like almost like in shock. Like, I can't believe that. They don't act like that at home. And I'm like,
Or they agree with you. It's like, yeah, they have a problem with that at home.
yeah, and
And
I'm
I'm gonna
like,
fix
well,
it.
what are we doing?
Like, you can't, I can't train them to be better if it doesn't go happen at home. Like I've
Thank
had kids, I'm like, you can't do this. So I give them a consequence and I tell the parents, and the parents like, oh my goodness, we will talk to them. Next day they do the same thing again. I'm like,
you.
okay, talk did not happen. Again, different conversations. We can get into parents
Oh yeah,
for
that's
like
a
20
whole nother
minutes.
story. All right. What changes? Oh, we just did that one.
Hmm.
Okay. What are schools doing to ensure educators are prepared for the changes caused by COVID, both positive and negative?
Um, I think a big thing schools, they're kind of making teachers get on Canvas and making sure like if they had to go online, they're not scrambling to get online. It's like, hey, you have everything here right on this one page. All you need to do is set up a meeting with them, get them all online at the same time, and that is it. So I feel like it is a required training, and I think they do train you or teach us how to use it, all the ins and outs. I know personally my mother hates it. She's like, Major, I hate Canvas. I'm like, I think it's easy peasy. Um, and then I feel like resources, I feel like some of the schools are like, I understand we're playing catch up. I will give you whatever you need to catch up.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where the understanding, but then at the same time, again, going back to what you said about test scores for STAR, like again, when am I supposed to do that? I'm supposed to pull these kids for tutoring on top of other kids I have to pull for other subjects for the required time I have to do legally. And now you're saying like, oh, you have to do this with them. And then I know at the school I'm at, they had to do it outside of school hours. So when the school day ends, then that's when they tutor them. And I'm like, I want to go home. Like, I want to go home. But
My
like,
day ended
I
at
don't want,
3:45.
yes. And tutoring's like, okay, but like, I have to hit a certain amount of hours. I have to do, and you start from day one. You like, if they failed third grade star, fourth grade teachers had to start immediately like that first week. It's not like, okay, let me get to know them like for like 2 to 3 weeks and then we start tutoring. Like, no, you were technically supposed to start first week. And I feel like that's a lot. And like, it's not the teacher's fault that they didn't do well. There's multiple factors. Online, oh my goodness, I would have hated to learn everything online and then take this big test. I just don't think it's fair on the student and kid, almost students and teachers punishment. To me, I'm like, that's not fair on them or us. I'm like, no.
I give you Texans props for that STAR test. I'm not from Texas, so I didn't have to take STAR. And when I first came here and started working in the elementary schools, I was like, you have to do what to pass? I'm like, no, why? And like just listening to my cousins who live here prepare for that and what they go through at school when taking it, I'm like, I would go crazy. So just imagine like these kids that are having to relearn all this content that they were supposed to have mastered last year while still trying to learn
Yes.
the content they're supposed to learn this year to take the next STAR test.
And
So like
from
I know these kids have to be
from what I
overwhelmed. I
understood,
can only imagine the educators.
from what I understood, when COVID happened in 2020, Texas said we're not taking it. Like, there's nothing wrong going to be happening about it. So when this following year, it was an option. Like, don't make it an option if it's not going to affect them the next year.
Hmm.
Like, you didn't have to take STAR. It was an option. And if you took it, it should not have like done anything. It was like it was almost like a practice test. Like, hey, we kind of want to see how this year went and how many kids are like, okay, yeah, they were back on track. And oh, there's a few kids that didn't. But you can't fault them on that. That's like again, being at home for so long. Home lives are crazy. I could not imagine being at home all the time. There is so many factors, and I personally don't like that. It's like, okay, your fault. You gotta do it now.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
completely agree. All right, our last and final question for this podcast is how has COVID benefited your ability to build relationships with your learners?
Okay. I think it benefited me because when you have kids that wear masks, you can't always say like it's like that disconnect. So you always have to try a little harder to get to know them. And I'm like, well, yeah, you try hard. You want to say I try hard to get to know my kids, but like even with that, like you don't see facial expressions. You really gotta like, okay, we liking this, we liking this. I felt like I built more genuine conversations with students because of wearing masks because they didn't know what I looked like. I didn't know what they looked like. So I had to really rely like on other things they did, like their tone and their voice, and maybe like some hand gestures like me, like I talk with my hands. So I felt like I was better at it. I figured out what is a cool topic that like kids are like into now, and I'm like, hey, I know a little bit of it. I think kids like just appreciated more about me talking to them about just random things, not school related. So I think it made me step up, be more genuine with myself talking to them. Like, we always like, hey, sweetheart, what's your name? Oh, I love that. That's so cool. Like, you sound like I sound like I care, but like as an adult, you're just like just saying the
Mhm.
stuff to know they'll make them talk to you. I
Yeah.
feel like genuine things, like random things. I could have had a sticker on a water bottle and I knew what it was. Like, hey, I know that. They're like, really? She had a mask. Her eyes got so big underneath her mask. I was like, oh yeah, I'm on the right track. And I'll just she comes talk to me every day, and I'm like, wow, just that one thing that I noticed that like it worked. But yeah, that's
Right.
my input. There are some negatives because then their kids like, I don't talk to you. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
You always have those kids that are just like, I'm just here to, just because I have to be.
yeah,
um, I completely agree. COVID has not only benefited me building a relationship with my learners, but finding myself as a learner and as a future educator. Um, I feel like because we were at home, we were able to keep up with like the latest trends and stuff like that. So you're able to come to class and talk to the boys about the different games that are popular right now instead of just the usual, like, do you play sports? What's your favorite sport? Just stuff they hear every year. Like, can you actually try to be relevant to what's popular right now?
yes.
And then the girls, they have all the different, YouTubers that they watch and the different little what's it called? Like the fine motor sensory things, like those little poppet things.
Oh, the fidgets and all
Yeah.
that.
And then like you said, the stickers. Little girls are so in love with stickers right now. And I'm like, in my head, I'm just thinking like I was never into stickers. So it just amazes me what entertains kids these days.
And it's not those like tiny stickers that we used to get on our papers if we did good. They're like big ones that you like that are on like Redbubble, I think is like a popular sticker website, and they're huge. I'm like, why do
Yeah.
you have that on a water bottle? You drop that thing like left and right. You don't keep up
That
with it.
does. And one little girl, she started talking to me about like a cricket or circuit, whatever it's called. And
Do
she
not
was
tell me that
like,
little girl has a cricket.
yeah, she was like, I love making stuff with my cricket. And I was like, you have a cricket? And she was like, yeah, my mom got me one. And I just love doing the little cups and stuff. And I had one of my cups that I had ordered from somebody. And she was like, that is so cute. I need to learn how to do that one. So we were talking about that, and it was just like, these kids are creative. They just know what to do, and they just take it and run.
I
Like one
think
little
COVID.
boy said he has a YouTube channel, he records videos and everything. And I was like, y'all just
Oh,
young
aw.
entrepreneurs.
I think COVID had a lot to do with that because you're gonna go to sport practice, you're gonna go to games,
Hmm.
you cannot go to the public pool, stay at home. So I
Yeah.
feel like they had like parents, bless them. I'm happy I was older. I'm like in my 20s when COVID happened. I could not. My poor mother. Um, they had to get creative. Parents really had to like, okay, I got to figure out what they want to do because adults, we stayed at home and we binged Netflix and didn't do anything else. We did
I
not do
know
anything else. We
I
sat on the couches and we're like, okay, next season. Okay. Oh,
did.
there's that one. That was like 13 seasons. Oh, let's find another one. So I think kids are just creative now. It's so different. I don't think kids are like into. I don't say they're not into sports, but like it's like making things, which is really fun. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do that. Tell me about it,
Yeah. Teach me something.
please.
All right. Well, that was it for today's podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed our questions. Be sure to leave a comment and let us know how COVID is affecting you, your learners, or your field of work if it's different from education. And we will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.